Hi, Ali Jones here again. I use these brass texture plates an awful lot in my jewellery making. I buy them online and basically you put them through the rolling mill with sheet silver, and the texture from the plate gets impressed into the silver, and then you make your jewellery from the silver. So this one in particular is one of my favourites, and I've used this to, it's a very rough sort of texture, and I've used this to make this pendant. And my favourite one is a blossom texture plate. I use this one a lot. I've got a lot of jewellery where I've used this, and here's a bead that I've made using the blossom texture. They're really good, but they don't last forever, and in fact last time I used my second blossom plate I managed to completely buckle it in the rolling mill. But I've been thinking for some time that I'd like to make my own with my own design rather than using someone else's design. So with that in mind, I've got an old brass letterbox that I managed to pick up, and I'm going to use a Sharpie and some ferric chloride to etch the plate. So I'm going to draw on it with a Sharpie with my design etched in the ferric chloride, and then I should have a pattern plate that I can put through the mill with my silver sheet. So I haven't done this before, we'll see how it goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is cover the back with some old nail varnish to stop it etching in the acid. And now it's dry, I'm going to do the edges with a thick Sharpie to make sure the edges don't etch away in the acid. So now that the back's all done and the sides, I need to clean up the front before I start drawing on it. So I've got this, it's like a rubber compound that's got some grit in it. It's like a sandpapery grit. So I've been over the whole of the front of the plate with this a number of times, just to get it as clean and smooth as possible. And then I'm going to go over it with some surgical spirit to remove any grease. Make sure it's really clean. And now I can have my design. I'm going to actually do 4 separate designs on here, and then after etch it as one piece, and then afterwards saw it into the 4 pieces. So on the first quarter I'm just going to do a really simple repeating leaf pattern. So I finished the leaf one. On this one I want to try and get a diamondy sort of pattern using a fatter Sharpie and a ruler. So the second one I've done this crisscross pattern. The third one I'm going to try and copy some branches from this tree photograph of mine. So now I've got 3 of the quarters done. This one I've just finished is the trees from that photograph. So in the last quarter I'm going to do some just random leaf patterns, different ones across the plate. So I've got all 4 of these quarters and now got something on them. I've put some ferric chloride into this plastic tub, and on the back of the brass plate I've put some double-sided sellotape and stuck some polystyrene, because ideally we want it to float upside down. So I'm going to put it in the acid, give it a bit of a swizzle to make sure there's no air trapped underneath. I'm going to tip a bit more of this in. I really want it floating. Here we are. Now I'm going to leave that for about an hour and then have a check. Okay, this has been in here an hour now, so I'm just going to have a look at it. Yeah, I can see that there's quite a decent bite. I can feel it with my with the cocktail stick. So I'm now going to put this in some water with bicarbonate of soda, which will neutralise the acid. You can see it fizzing there. And then I'm going to take it over to the sink to give it a good clean. So I've just tipped the acid back into the bottle to be reused, and before I washed out the bowl I put some more bicarbonate of soda in it to neutralise the remains before I tipped it down the sink. So what I'm now going to do is using some of this surgical spirit, I'm going to remove the ink that's left on here. So I've cleaned off as much as the ink as I can, and I'm just going to give it a very light go over with this fine sandpaper, and that starts to really bring out the pattern.